Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Fanger, CEO of On Technology Partners, and I'm proud to be sponsoring our new program, Women STaRs. In each episode, we will spotlight an amazing woman and the struggles and triumphs that she has faced. Then we will reflect and share her insights. Our goal is to engage, entertain, and explore the women stars in our world today. I hope you enjoy.
I want to thank you all for listening today. My name is Shanti Harkness, and I'm the Media Manager for On Technology Partners, a woman-owned company addressing cybersecurity and risk. Join us as we share the reflections of women just like you that have survived struggles and embraced triumphs in their lives. Today, we'll be talking with Catherine Bosley. Catherine is a Cleveland, Ohio area native and Kent State graduate. She's also a two-time Emmy-nominated and Associated Press award-winning TV anchor and reporter. After nearly 30 years and 5 TV markets, she transitioned to work in TV on a freelance basis to launch her own company, CJB Productions, LLC. There, she puts her skills to work as an on-camera and virtual presentation coach, and most importantly, she speaks around the country, including a TEDx talk. Her speaking events feature insight into finding and using inner strength, as well as how to make wiser choices in our online world, which is the topic of her new book, Forever and for All to See. Catherine is featured and quoted in various publications, as well as being interviewed regularly on podcasts and appearing in many media interviews, including on Good Morning America and Inside Edition. In her free time, Catherine is an avid runner, finishing 13 marathons, and enjoys all kinds of sports and travel with her husband of 20 years. Catherine, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So before we begin, actually, why don't you tell us something that others might not know about you or something exciting about yourself?
Well, I think today most people don't know that I am a heart survivor. I was born with congenital heart defect, and it wasn't discovered until I was in my 30s, my early 30s. So I went all my life unable to keep up with the others until they finally discovered that I had a big hole in my heart.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was fixed, and I started running marathons. So maybe that's the one thing a lot of people don't know about me.
That's incredible. Definitely resilience for sure.
Oh, it's survival, right?
Oh, wow.
You got to survive it. So
absolutely. So Catherine, we know that triumphs don't come without their struggles. So talk to us a little bit about what some of your biggest struggles have been. This can be either professionally or personally, and how you were able to get through them and what kind of an impact that those struggles had on your life or career.
Well, health struggles probably rank up there as number one. And that comes back to the heart disease. And a couple of years later, I was diagnosed with a lung disease that really made the heart disease seem like it was nothing. So surviving both of those really opened your eyes to what really counts in life. And I know it kind of sounds like, yes, we've heard that before. But when you do go through these things and you wonder why the heck you're going through them, you get through them and you look back and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was able to do that. And if I was able to do that, what else can I do? And it kind of, when you get through things like that, it's kind of like the world is yours now. You go on and understand that you just kind of keep on moving and go back and also look at some of what the goodness that came from some of those struggles that you went through. So if I didn't have heart disease, if I didn't have lung disease, I would not have understood what it feels like to be there, having that kind of empathy. I wouldn't appreciate probably as much the little things that I appreciate now. And so, yeah, those things kind of pay off. Every kind of challenge, it makes you stronger, it makes you wiser. And most importantly, it makes you more equipped to help other people who might find themselves in that situation down the road. So I would say my health struggles were probably rank amongst my top struggles in my life, but also I had a situation that put me in front of the world with online humiliation, and that really brought me to my knees, for sure. And that's really what now my mission is based on: understanding what it feels like to be humiliated online, understanding how it could bring out weaknesses in you that you never knew you had, and how to overcome, how to put that kind of stuff in perspective, which is really important today when so many times we hear about lives being turned upside down because of something that was uncovered somewhere online, or something that was put out online and misinterpreted or is not representing you the right way. And then, and it just seems like the whole world is seeing this, and that your world, as you know it, has come to an end. And that is what I believe is kind of a brainwashing that happens, that sends so many people into this idea that their life is over. And even too many people taking that step to end their lives because the humiliation is way too much. So surviving that kind of set me on this mission to make it very clear that, number one, we need to be so cautious with everything we do online and off. There is so little room for that "what was I thinking" moment before something can be part of your forever and for all to see, which is the name of my book. And also understand that it is survivable. Online humiliation is survivable. So that comes to be, it's kind of a trifecta. When people ask me about my challenges in life, it's kind of a trifecta. I say it's the heart disease, the lung disease, and the global humiliation. And as hard as all those were, I am so glad I went through every one of them at this point.
Yeah. And I love your final statement there about, going through those experiences, because, and I've faced my own challenges as every person has, and we wouldn't be the people that we are today if we didn't go through them.
Oh, exactly. I actually feel bad for people who don't have struggles, for the silver spoons and who always think things are just always good for them, because then you don't know how to handle life's challenges. Number one. Number two, you're not a whole lot of help for other people if you don't have that kind of experience to unpack, to help.
Right. And just to be clear for all of our listeners, we're not wishing bad things happen to you.
That's so true. Yeah.
We're not. We're just, saying that those challenges help to shape you. And if you face them in the right way, they will make you a better person.
Absolutely.
A better friend, a better partner, a better employee, a better, family member, whatever it might be. It will just make you a better person and more empathetic towards others and the struggles that others face.
And truly, everybody has their struggles to some degree, right? There is probably no one out there who gets through life thinking it's just a glorious day every day and there's nothing much to worry about. We all have our struggles. We all know that. Yeah, it's all just keeping it in perspective.
So, Catherine, do you have any tips or tricks that you've used to get through those challenging times?
Oh, so when I look back, especially how I survived the online humiliation, I kind of narrow it down to what I call a PACT, PACT. So it's an acronym for when you're going through any kind of struggle. P in the PACT stands for people. Engage your people. Go to those people that you love and trust. Tell them what's going on. And it's amazing the different angles that people can look at things and tell you that maybe you shouldn't be worried about it so much as you are, or maybe this other part of it could actually be a good thing when you're going through a struggle or a challenge. The worst thing you could do is just hide and not tell those that you care about what's going on with you and what you're going through, because the perspective that they can give you can be amazing, can be life-saving. So I say, go to your army. And maybe your army is your family or your friends, those people you trust. Maybe your army is just that one person, but telling that one person can make all the difference, maybe even a life-saving difference. So there's P. A is for abandon the source of cruelty. So if it's something online that's coming to you, close up shop, get off of that social media platform. If it's a group of people that's causing you angst, stay away from them. There's no reason to expose yourself, because the more you do expose yourself, the worse it's going to seem unnecessarily. So abandon that source of cruelty, that source of pain. Get away from it. C is connect with professionals. Connect with professionals who can help you. We are in an age where there are so many professionals. Some of them are online, counselors, therapists, even lawyers and law enforcement for some people who are dealing with online situations that are a little bit more severe, turn to professionals. People are out there. They want to help you. With the cyberbullying, there are so many anti-cyberbullying websites, and there are people on the other end, and they want to be there for you. So connect with professionals. And T, this is the most important in my pact. This too shall pass. And it's really to understand, I mean, how many of you out there have gone through something that you feel is the end of you? You're never going to survive it. And what happens? You do. We all end up in those situations from time to time, but you survive it. And again, not only do you survive it, you're stronger, you're wiser, and you're more equipped to help other people. So that is how I explain to people the best way to get through challenges is to make a pact with yourself that you will follow those 4 steps. And it's almost guaranteed to get you on the other side of whatever that hurdle is that you are encountering.
I love it. And each of those was spot on. And I can especially relate to the A and abandoning, being around the people that are causing those issues. I actually just recently had to do that with somebody that was trying to shame me for personal choices that I was making about my own body. And I could feel myself starting to get very angry.
Oh, yeah.
To lash out at this person. Like, it's my body.
Right.
You don't have any influence over this whatsoever. Like, just back off.
Right.
And so, really, cutting off those ties, cutting off that communication, was the best thing that I could do, because it was just going to get me more and more upset. And I don't have to explain anything.
Right. And it feels like a weight lifted off your shoulder when you can step away.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to the online shaming, online bullying, humiliating people, that's, for some reason, when we see that coming at us on that cell phone, on that laptop, it just seems so much worse than it is. But at the same time, you can't get away from it. You want to keep scrolling through and seeing who's saying what and wondering why they're saying it. And it becomes such an unhealthy obsession. Mm-hmm. And, so many people deal with it, people who think that they're strong and they never would, but they find themselves just wanting to get back and see what people are saying and where this conversation is going. That's a mean conversation. And I don't know what it is. I don't think even the experts quite understand what is so addictive about wanting to watch what's going on online when it involves people talking about you.
I love the pact. I think that's wonderful. And more, I hope our listeners spread that far and wide, because everybody needs to hear about it.
Yes. Well, you can read all about it in my book called Forever and For All, to see how to avoid social media scandal and how to survive one. I lay it all out there. And of course, you get that at my website, KatherineBosley.com.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's take a moment now and focus on your biggest triumph. So can you share what that was and what made it so great for you?
Well, my triumph came when I was able to get back to my dream career, which was working in TV news after going through the humiliation that I went through, the online humiliation. And so I think to explain that more, I kind of have to go back into my story, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we're talking about my heart disease and the lung disease. And the lung disease, we really did think it was going to kill me. I went from running a marathon to a hospital bed, unable to speak a full sentence without breathing treatments, to lung surgery in a matter of only a few weeks. And again, it made the heart disease look like it was nothing. And when I asked my doctor, am I going to survive? All he could say was, one day at a time, dear. And I had just been married for not even a year when this happened. So we really weren't sure if I was going to live. So it was about 3 months of not knowing of this monstrous experimental drug therapy. The doctors, they could not figure out what it was that was filling my lungs. But this experimental drug therapy, yes, after 3 months, finally it was determined it's working and you are going to survive. It's clearing up your lungs. So my husband and I decide then, we need to go get some badly needed healing sunshine. So we decided to go to Key West, Florida, to celebrate that I was alive still and going to live, and to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. It all kind of came at the same time. So we're down there walking down Duval Street, and I'm still recovering. I still am on a lot of medication. And Duval Street, of course, is that main strip in Key West. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. I was in my mid-30s and it was spring break, and you hear all this great music coming from the bars and the restaurants, and all the college kids running around. They're so excited, and just this beautiful breeze going over the island. And I am just thinking, life is great. And I turned to my husband. I said, I'm going to live it to the fullest. I'm going to go do things I would have never done before. You see, I was always a goody two shoes growing up in high school and college. I had my goal set on going into TV news. And at that point, I had been about 10 years into the business, working in a little Youngstown, Ohio. And so we're walking down, and I'm thinking this is just great. And then we walk into a bar, and we get into the bar, and they're going to have a wet t-shirt contest. Listen, I had never even seen a wet t-shirt contest. Again, in my 30s, I never would want anything to do with anything like that. And neither had my husband. At least that's what he said. And suddenly this guy gets on stage and he starts soliciting women to take part. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do things I would have never done before. I'm going to just go live life to the fullest and just experience things. That combined with the fact that I was still on heavy medication made for the perfect storm. And I heard myself say, I'll do it. And I did it. I got caught up in that moment. The thing got carried away. I'll never forget that, walking back to our hotel room in tears, that I could let myself get so caught up in something like that. It was kind of just supposed to be kind of between me and my husband. It was just a thing, like we survived it. We've gotten this far. I was watching him the whole time. We were laughing that we were doing something so silly. We thought it was silly at the time, and then realized it just was dumb. So we made a pact then. We would leave it in Key West, learn from it, never do anything like that again. And back then we had not so smartphones. No one really knew what to do with pictures on their phones. We were just learning how to take the pictures. So we weren't really worried about anything like that. But little did I know there was a company there that night, similar to Girls Gone Wild, recording the whole thing, video, pictures. And I was beside myself. And I learned, so it was 10 months later that I learned that this video and these pictures were circulating. On Christmas morning, when I got a phone call, I received a message on our answering machine. And we're getting ready for a house full of guests. I'm running around taking care of all the odds and ends. And I'm thinking, oh, someone called. Maybe it's a guest wanting to, wonder what to bring, or someone just calling to wish us a Merry Christmas. And so I couldn't wait to play that message. And when I played the message, my heart, this is what we heard.
Hey, Rick and Catherine, or should I say Rick and Kathy from Kent. Just want to let you know that the video from Girls Gone Wild has hit the Youngstown area. You are being shown Catherine or Kathy from Kent, as you know. I guess that's your stage name. It's being shown from everywhere, from Channel 21 to Irish Pub to Royal Oaks Bar and Grill. Everyone's seeing you in your full attire. Honey, your days are over. You think you're such a prissy little bitch, but your days are over. Have a very Merry Christmas.
Yes, one moment here. So that's how I found out that this actually happened.
Wow.
And every time I play that message, I have to tell you, my heart does sink, because it brings me back to that moment, the first time I heard it, the realization that, oh my gosh, this little secret that we had. And I was in television news, and I don't know who left that message. It was, I don't care to know at this point. It's been 17 years later, if not more. But she was right. I'm like, she's right. My days are over. I got fired from my dream job that I've worked so hard for, that I wanted since I was 12 years old. I lost some friends. I lost any sense of self-respect. And the pictures are going from website to website, going what we call viral. And before I know it, I'm getting invited to appear on shows like Oprah and Good Morning America and Inside Edition and The O'Reilly Factor. I was David Letterman's top 10 list. It was awful. It was so surreal. And this was after I got fired, after word got out that I got fired because I did something like this, girl next door goes Girl Gone Wild type of a thing. And it was something that has changed me forever. So I couldn't even hide at home. I mean, people drive by honking their horns, yelling terrible things out their car windows. And so I was being cyber bullied, and I was being bullied, just downright bullied. to the point where, like so many others who are bullied today, I wanted to die. And I had a plan on how to make that happen. And it was my only piece was to think of this plan. And it was in that bottom drawer where we kept leftover prescription pain medication, powerful stuff that would do the job. There were nights I went to bed thinking tomorrow will be the day, because I saw no escape. Shanti, I saw no escape. And so luckily, faith, family, and friends to the rescue to help me not just survive, but also fight back. So 3 federal lawsuits later, I got control of my life back again. I got copyright ownership to all of those images, giving me legal means and to get it off the internet and stop the dissemination. But we all know once it's out there to some degree forever and for all to see. So I had to come to terms with that. So to this day, that means my lawyers can't quite get to some of those obscure websites overseas or on the deep, dark side of the internet. But I had to come to terms with it. As I was fighting my way back, though, a TV station in Cleveland, where I always really wanted to work anyway, they recognized what they called my resolve, and they gave me a chance to reclaim my career. So when you talk about my biggest victory, that would be it. And getting back to work was really difficult, because now I had to not just prove that I was a decent journalist, but also prove that I was more than that one mistake. And that's what so many people find themselves doing today, having to prove that they're more than that one mistake, especially when that one mistake goes out there for the world to see and becomes forever and for all to see online.
Wow. I don't even know that I can even say anything in response to what you've shared. But I absolutely agree that it's so important for us to remember that we're not the mistakes that we've made.
Right.
You know, they help us to grow, but that's not who we are.
Right.
And
they're lessons.
that's,
yes.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times when we all get caught up in a moment. I mean, it happens. That's what happened to me. But today, so now that's why I'm so adamant about this. You need to really think about everything that you're doing in public, everything that you're doing online, to make sure that it doesn't get misconstrued, turned around, and used against you. Was it maybe last year? I was returning a rental and I was running late to catch my flight. And I couldn't find anybody to help me. And then finally this guy came along and he was being very apathetic. He was just like, whatever, put the keys there. And I wanted to make sure that my car got turned in. And it was all I could do to keep my temper. And there are moments we lose our tempers with things like that. You're getting bad customer service. You don't like, the guy just cut you off and out the highway. What does that look like? Right. You have a meltdown on your kids in the grocery store. What does that look like? There's always these moments that we just figured they're moments and look back and you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But now these moments could really scar your life. And so I remember, keep cool. I always talk about using that little voice inside your head that tells you when you shouldn't do something. It's more important than ever to listen to that voice now, because it's crucial. And that voice could be life-saving. It's that voice that tells you, don't cross the street, that car's coming too fast. Don't jump in that water. You're not a good swimmer. It's life-saving. And what tells you, don't take part in a wet t-shirt contest. Don't flip off that driver next to you. It's time to listen to that voice, because you just don't want this to happen to you. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. If you're knowledgeable about the consequences, the possible consequences, and you're fine with it and you can deal with it, then yeah, sure. I'm just kind of giving a heads up to be perhaps more mindful that what we do that we think is just for the moment is no longer just for the moment anymore. And that's kind of sad.
And I think your message is important across the board for everybody,
right.
But I feel like it's even more important for the youth and for parents with children, because I've seen so many, adolescents, teenagers, posting things on social media that are questionable, we'll just say.
Well, yeah.
And that, might seem fun or defiant in your youth, but as you mature and you grow and you're seeking out employment, if they do a search for you and they find, that you've posted drugs on social media, or I don't even know what else to use as an example, that could end up costing you, like you said, your dream job.
Oh, yeah.
Was that really worth it?
We hear it happening with athletes all the time. They put out a tweet when they were 14 that they really didn't think about, and then it could cost them their jobs. Yes, absolutely. And so careerbuilder.com did a survey a couple of years ago asking employers, how often do you vet job candidates online, through Google searching them or going through their social media. And I believe it was 70% said they do. And I would, if I was an employer, absolutely. I don't blame them. It's a great source for employers. And 50% said that they passed on candidates because of what they found online. And the majority of those reasons, or the posts or something that they've come across online that they decided, that made them decide, I'm going to pass on this person, had to deal with alcohol, drugs, or more risque photos.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people, especially with the alcohol, I understand it's so tempting to say, hey, look, I'm here with my friends and here's my glass of wine and look at me. You put one picture of with the glass of wine, maybe next week got a martini and never go back to wine. And now if you're going through someone's social media and you see like every few pictures is someone with a glass of wine, and maybe they're not even have a drinking problem at all. But if they're looking for employment, there might be someone just as qualified whose social media doesn't have any of that and doesn't leave any, skepticism that there could be something going on.
And it's not just large companies that are looking at the social media. I mean, I helped with the hiring process for one of our team members. And that was something that I did, is I looked at their social media page to make sure that there wasn't anything crazy on there that would call into question their ability to, show up for work every day and to do their job. So it's large companies, it's small companies, so, this is something that employers are looking at. And it's not, a couple of pictures isn't worth losing out on your dream job or, an advancement in your career.
And then so many people think, well, you know what? I've got my social media account. This one is very private. Only my friends can see it. And so in my speaking engagements, I go through what I call the top 5 digital dangers. And number 1 is this myth that there's privacy online, that there's privacy in our digital world at all. Even if you snap a picture. So, hey, maybe you and your husband, you're kind of having some fun and you're sexting back and forth. So maybe you think it's just between the two of you. But as soon as you snap that picture, it's automatically shared up to whatever cloud that you're subscribed to. And when those clouds get broken into, and what happens when that cell phone gets lost or stolen? Mm-hmm. And someone gets into it, whether you have security on your cell phone or not, whether you have a code or not, there are people out there who know how to get through those things. And so sexting is a big thing. Listen, sexting has become an absolute epidemic, especially since COVID, because people are looking for ways to get close, and they were experimenting with different things. And we're talking about everyone from tweens, which is really unfortunate and illegal, up to grandparents, which I always thought that's kind of unfortunate too in some ways. But it's become such a thing. People think that, I understand that. You think that a little bit of that's going to kind of put an extra spark in a relationship. That's, it's human nature, right? Mm-hmm. Sensuality, sexuality, all of that. But as soon as you get it in a digital form, you are risking sharing it with the world. And no one thinks about that when they think, oh, it's my husband, or, it's that one person I trust so much. They never think about that. And then all of a sudden their world is turned upside down, and everybody has this picture. I have a whole bunch of examples of that in my book of true stories of this happening, this kind of stuff happening to people who are so unsuspecting. As much as we are focused on kids, there are certainly many cases of it happening with adults too.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
It's just, we just need to increase our mindfulness to try to catch up with the technology. And, it seems like it's an impossible task right now, but I think we spread the word, and we heed the warnings ourselves, but we also warn others when we see others doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, that whether they're posting something themselves or they're involved in something offline that other people are taking a picture of, then, it's worth sending out some warnings.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But here's the good news though. Okay. As much as there's bad news, as much as, oh my goodness, it's forever and for all to see. I always say I'm about, yes, it's forever to all and all to see. I'm also about no one is immune. I'm also about it is indeed survivable. And there are a couple of steps. Number one, of course, is to delete anything that you think could be questionable that you have on your social media or other people have. And it doesn't even just have to be social media. It could be texts, it could be emails, any of that. Delete it as much as you can. But for everything that you delete, put 5-10 items out there that are positive, that you want people to know about you, see about you, and say about you. Because the more of that stuff you put out, even though when you delete, you're not really completely deleting because it's always going to be out there. If you put other stuff that's positive, it kind of pushes that deleted stuff out a little bit further into cyberspace. So when someone does a Google search on you, they're not going to come across that unless they keep going page after page after page with your Google search. And we all know that when we Google search something, we really have little patience to going too deep into it. Yeah. So that's the good part. And then the other good part is it is survivable. If you go through it, it is survivable using that PAC strategy I talked about. There's also some companies out there. One is reputationdefender.com that really can go through and change the algorithms to try to make some of this information disappear. So we're getting there, but it takes, the first step is for us to be more mindful about everything we do.
Thank you.
To each other as well. When you see something, a friend double fisting it, it's really not nice to take a picture of them and put it up on your social media. You don't know what you could be doing to their life. Yes.
Such wisdom and very important things to be mindful of, definitely. So Catherine, as women, we juggle a multitude of different things. We've got career, family, household responsibilities. Sometimes there's illnesses and caregiving. How do you work to maintain a work-life balance? And what do you think that employers could do to be more supportive of that balance?
I don't know that I have a balance. Quite honestly.
That is not an uncommon response, actually.
Yes. I think that you do need to make sure that you set aside certain times when you just step away from work. And you don't only physically step away from it, you emotionally step away from it. And life is about having fun. It's not about constant work. And of course, the work that you do, it should be fun, or you maybe need to consider looking for something else that makes you happy. So if work didn't make me happy, I certainly wouldn't be I'd be miserable because I spend so much time between working still in TV news and speaking events and coaching and all of that. But I just really think that you need to be very aware of the necessity to step aside, to set some time aside, not just for yourself, but also for your family, who's always asking, can we do this? Can we do that? And you're like, I got to do one more thing. No more one more thing. I think no more one more thing when you've made that promise to spend time with others, to spend time with yourself even.
Absolutely. I was just recently talking to a friend, and unfortunately, he's in the process of going through a divorce. And one of the things that he mentioned that contributed to him and his wife getting divorced was that he was always working. And rather than stopping work and spending time with his family and helping to raise his children, he would run essentially to go back to work. Yes. So that he didn't have to, change diapers or, get the kids' lunch ready or, things like that. And now that his children are teenagers and, he's in this process of going through a divorce, he's really beating himself up and has such huge regrets about making those choices, and that he wished he had spent more time with his children and not worked as much. And so I think that goes, directly to what you were saying, as well as, enjoying the work that you do.
Yes.
That is so important. And I think that's one of the things that I love about working at On Technology Partners is they have a 70-30 rule. So their goal is to make sure that you love your job and love what you're doing at least 70% of the time.
That's fair.
And if you don't love what you're doing, at least 70% of the time, you need to speak up and say something,
Right.
because they don't want you to be miserable in the work that you're doing. And if they can, do things to change that, then they will. And it is awesome. It really is.
Because it's hard. It's rare. It's hard to find, although I think more and more workplaces are going to have to be like that, because it's getting to where, after we've all gone through what we've gone through over the last couple of years, it's almost unacceptable now that you are not, you are not important. You need to be important to your employer. But here's the thing with your friends. So another thing I try to go by is no more would have, could have, should have. Those do nothing but damage. They look back and they're full of regret and guilt and remorse, and that does nothing. So instead of would have, could have, should have, I mean, of course, we're going to beat ourselves up for a little bit, but then you got to get to the point where you understand what you learned from that experience. Like I said, there's good things and there's benefits to be found in everything we go through, including those challenges. So get that would have, could have, should have, get those things out of your vocabulary. They do nothing good.
So, Catherine, how would you define success for yourself? And do you have any tips or habits that you use to help you to be successful or to feel successful?
I just don't give up. I just try one more time, make one more phone call, send one more email. I think that's, as a reporter, as a journalist, I learned that real early on. You just got to keep on knocking on more doors, and eventually you're going to get that interview. And eventually you're going to get that piece of information that changes everything. So it's just a never give up. It's just that one more time. Unless you say, wait a minute, from 5 until throughout the rest of this night, I'm not working, then you got to abide by that first. I think that trumps the never give up thing. But yeah, you just can't give up.
I love it. Definitely. So take a moment now and reflect on something that you wish you would have known sooner in life and share that with us. Oh boy.
Oh goodness. That's a really hard one. What would I have wanted to know? It kind of goes back to, I think, this too shall pass saying, understanding that. And I think it takes going through a few challenges, real struggles, true tumult in your life to understand that this too shall pass, and we'll always get through it. When you're younger, you think it is the end, and it's so not. So I think that's what I would certainly tell younger people to understand. We're just going to go through one thing. You're going to get through that first, and you're going to find another thing, and we get through it. We do get through it.
So what advice would you give to young women that are just beginning their careers, or perhaps women that are thinking about changing careers?
Well, I think to women who are just starting their careers is to, when you want it, don't give up. When I was going into TV news, I remember we had professionals from the business come in and speak. I went to Kent State University, and there were a few that said, get out. Don't do this. It's a miserable business. You move from city to city, leaving behind friends and family. The hours are terrible. The money is terrible at first. And no matter how much they tried to discourage, those of us who stuck with it are the ones who actually made it into the business. And a lot of us working in Cleveland now. But I don't let anybody talk you out of your dream. Absolutely. And for women who are changing careers, know that you can do it. Be able to grab all that great, valuable information that you've accumulated in doing what you were doing before, and find a way to reframe it to help you plunge forward with your next dream.
Wonderful words of advice. Thank you. So, Catherine, we're at the end of our interview. Do you have any last words or parting remarks that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh, I don't think so. I am a very faithful person too. And I just, I'm always there to say, God's gotcha. He's gotcha. Whatever God it is that you praise, God's gotcha.
I love it. Catherine, will you remind our listeners where they can get your book?
Sure. CatherineBosley.com. So it's CatherineE and Bosley, as in Tom Bosley, BOSLEY, CatherineBosley.com. And you just kind of click in on the book tab, and it's right there for you.
Perfect.
Yes. And I'm on pretty much all social media, and I do respond and I do follow back. So I look forward to engaging with you online as well on social media.
Excellent. That actually was leading into my next question, was if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can go to my website, KatherineBosley.com, or you just email me at Catherine@KatherineBosley.com. So in addition to the book, I also do speaking events anywhere from junior high school and college up to corporations and associations, professional associations. This is not just a problem. Our online image, protecting our online image, is not just a problem for the youth. It's a problem for anyone who has any kind of profession that they are determined to protect. It's a very important message. I've got actionable steps to follow. So I look forward to speaking at any of your events.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Catherine, it has been an absolute privilege speaking with you. Thank you again so much for taking the time and for sharing all of the wonderful information that you did.
Thank you, Shanti. It was a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate your questions.
Thank you. On Technology Partners wants to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women STARs. If you'd like to appear on a future podcast episode, or if you'd like to nominate a woman to be interviewed for Women STARs, please email stars@ontechpartners.com. My name is Shanti Harkness. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. Remember, you are all women stars. If you wish to learn more about our Women STARs program or want to be a guest on our show, contact us at stars@ontechpartners.com. And thank you to On Technology Partners for helping me make this program a reality. Remember, we at On Technology Partners want to help you protect your team from hackers. To learn more about our cybersecurity services, go to ontechnologypartners.com.